Hey, in the last video, we created a service monitor to have Prometheus scrape your applications metrics. And today I want to show you how to get the whole alerting pipeline to work. What will we need to achieve that? We will need to have a alerting rule configured in Prometheus, which sets a condition for our alert. And we will also need to configure Alertmanager itself, because by default there's just a dummy configuration in it, as we don't know which channels you want to use for notifications. Okay, so Prometheus basically knows about two types of rules. The first one is the recording rule, and the second one the alerting rule. Recording rules are used to basically pre-calculate the results of complex queries to put those results into an own metric in intervals, basically. You can use that, for example, in Grafana dashboards, where you sometimes execute complex queries in short intervals. And to speed that up and to also take the load of the Prometheus server, you pre-compute basically the results and put them into an own metric. There are some recording rules predefined by us. For example, the first one here, which will show you the used CPU by namespace. So yeah, the query for that is just we're taking the container CPU usage seconds total metric, filtering out some stuff which we are not interested in, apply a 5-minute window and sum it up by namespace. And if you click on that metric now and graph it, you can actually see the CPU used by namespace. You can see that our keycloak staging is actually using the most CPU of our customer namespaces on that cluster. Yeah, there are more predefined recording rules, just check them out. So yeah, what else do we need? We need the alerting rule, as I said before. And yeah, here I'm actually showing the example from the last video, slightly modified. We are showing the 95 percentile request duration seconds metric for the service cards, for the health endpoint, and we also split that up by pod. So if there would be multiple pods, you would actually see multiple pod names down here. What does the whole graph tell us? Well, the last value was actually 4.8 milliseconds, so it means 95% of all health endpoint requests are responded to faster or equal than 4.8 milliseconds. So to create a test alert now, which we can sure will be firing, I created a rule basically which says if that metric or if that query actually gives back a number higher than 3 milliseconds, please alert. Okay, so I already actually prepared that. See that here. How to create such a rule is also written down in our documentation. You take the kind Prometheus rule, which is used for recording and alerting rules. You need the 9ch Prometheus label, like in all the other resources, where you assign basically the resource to a specific Prometheus instance. The resource itself needs a name. You can group the alerts. And you also need a name. Health check is slow in that case, and I used the just showed query and said, okay, if it's higher than 3 milliseconds, please alert. I added a severity label, which is critical. You can use that later on in Alertmanager in your notifications, and also for routing. And I also added annotations. As you can see here, I'm accessing labels, the content of specific labels in those statements here. As we integrated the pod label, I can just access it here. It's just a notation is just $labels.pot in that case. Yeah, so that rule is actually already added to my Git repo, but it's not yet added to the customization YAML file. So resource manifests suckshop monitoring everything. It just complains that that my service monitor was already in the customization YAML file. That's not a problem. -m add test rule, pushing it, and now ArgoCD should create that Prometheus rule. Let's see. So we go here. There is no Prometheus filter yet. I think I need to reload. Add test rule, so it actually took the latest commit there, and now there's Prometheus rule. Okay, and it created it. So what will happen now? Prometheus operator, which we're using, will check all the Prometheus rules which are defined, and then create a valid Prometheus configuration out of it, and also add it to our Prometheus instance. So as we created an alerting rule, it actually should show up under alerts. It's already there. You can see it here. Normally it takes a couple of seconds. The health check is slow, it's defined. It's green still because it actually needs some time to fire. There's an alert evaluation interval in Prometheus. You can see the expression, you can see the labels and the annotations which we used. So now I reload it and you can see, okay, the alert is actually firing. Although our alert manager is not really configured to send out notifications yet, you can still see it. You can still see the alert here, right? So alert manager got the alert. I can click on info here and you can see the description, the summary, which are the annotations. You can see the pod name, right, which we accessed. And why I didn't that labels not notation. Yeah, but what you can also see is that in our Mattermost demo, where we want to send the alerts to the alerts channel here, there's nothing coming in. That's just because we didn't configure it yet. So I also prepared that. What we basically need is we need to configure Alertmanager. We need a namespace called alertmanager-config, and in there needs to be a secret called Alertmanager, Kubernetes secret, and that secret needs to contain a key Alertmanager YAML, and in there should be the configuration. For the configuration itself, we actually provide some examples. I took the fourth one here because it's using actually Slack templates, or basically templates to send out notifications. We're using Mattermost here on Slack, but I still call it Slack. Why I'm doing that? Because the default of Alertmanager, the default template for Slack, is not really pretty, I'd say. It misses some details, so we are overriding that here. Okay, so what we will need is we need a temporary directory. I already created that with the files in. So we have our Alertmanager YAML file in and the Slack template. I can show you the content here. Just to explain it a bit, there's always a main route, basically. That's the entry point for all the alerts. You have a receiver set there, which is Slack in our case. And if you would have any subroutes and the alert would not match any subroute, then it would just take the default receiver here of the main route. We're also grouping by alert name. That's actually helpful. In our case, let's imagine we would have 10 card service pods and all of them would respond slower than 3 milliseconds to our health check. We would get 10 notifications in our Mattermost instance. When you group by alert name, actually, we will get one notification which we can actually expand and which will contain all the details. So you don't get 10, you just get one that's really cool in emergency situations where stuff just breaks, and you don't want to get spammed by too many notifications there. I also set a repeat interval of 1 minute, so if the alert is not resolved yet, it will send out a new notification every minute. You shouldn't use 1 minute in production environments. I just use that here so that we will see the notification popping up in Mattermost quicker. Okay, we're using send resolved, which basically, tells Alertmanager to also send a notification once the alert is resolved. The rest is actually just using the template. Also the API URL, which you can, in Mattermost you actually need to create an incoming webhook configuration, and that's just the API URL there, copied, right? You can go here and have integrations, incoming webhooks, and there I already created the Alertmanager configuration here and I just copied that URL. If you use templates, don't forget to add the templates directive, otherwise Alertmanager will not find your templates. So back to the documentation. I actually added a snippet there how to create the secret, because we also need to add specific annotations in the documentation. So we need to export our amdir variable equals temp amconfig, right? And then I'm just copying the one. Okay, now my secret Alertmanager is created, and can go here, can go to the status. It's not yet being picked up. Okay. Seems to take some time until Alertmanager applies it. Temp config, okay. Data Alertmanager YAML. That's interesting. There's the template is actually missing. And here's temp amconfig. I'll just do it again. Oh, no. Now it actually picked it up. Okay. Just took some time for the reload. So configuration got applied. And we can also see an alert coming in our Mattermost instance here. You can see that that's the summary of the alert, and down there you can actually also see all the labels which were added. So it should send that now in like every minute until the alert is resolved. So don't use that in production environments. And I don't know if I already set it, but we are also syntax checking the Alertmanager configuration. So just put some garbage in here, and then you can see if I now try to update that secret, our webhook basically says okay, denied the request, error, not a valid duration string. Yeah, whatever. So that actually was it. You can see that it's not that hard to create that configuration, and try it out and have fun with it. Bye.